fabulous spring day here in Southern Ontario. This is the Sportsline Podcast on the CHCH and Parent Media platform. Always appreciate you watching or listening. I'm Bubba O'Neil. Well, on the regular, this podcast highlights the region's extraordinary athletes, coaches, executives, broadcasters, and today we're talking about a major league event in the Golden Horseshoe.
3, 2.
Well, it is that time of year, folks. The Paris to Ancaster race. No matter the weather, these amazing cyclists and competitors are out there pounding it out from 3 different distances. And as you see, things can get rather mucky. To represent and talk about and even promote this unbelievable annual event, we have spared no expense. We have gone across the Atlantic and grabbed one of the best in the business. Representing Canada from Ancaster, Ontario, our own Carson Mattern. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, hey, obviously you're in Spain right now, and I guess we've established that it's your kind of temporary yearly residence. But apparently you had a little mishap before even getting here today. You want to tell all our listeners about it?
Yeah. So Sunday afternoon, I wrapped up racing the Tour of Mersin, which is a UCI stage race in Turkey, and quite a rural part of Turkey at that. So, naturally, when you have 100-odd bike riders with all their bikes trying to get out on the same few airplanes in the same few hours, sometimes things get missed. So my bike ended up making it maybe 8 hours later after I arrived in Barcelona. So it was a bit of a late night, and I ended up just crashing the night in Barcelona before making the pilgrimage here to Girona. So I'm a little tired right now. I'm looking forward to bed after this podcast, I think.
I'm sure it's been certainly a long day. Appreciate you holding out for us here. Hey, all kinds of things going on with you in terms of the cycling world. You're in the sort of get in your season right now. I know we're going to talk about Paris to Ancaster, but I think what we always remember about you is that, we have track specialists, we have people that are road racers. You kind of do it all, don't you?
Yeah, so for most of my life and my career, I was racing on the velodrome. I got my start actually at Forest City Velodrome in London, Ontario. A little shout out, not many people know about this track. But then, of course, the Milton Velodrome from the 2015 Pan Am Games is, I guess, what gets most of the highlight. Spent a lot of years racing there and training there, and eventually went to the Olympic Games in 2024, as well as the Pan Am Games where I won gold. I won Junior World Championships 3 times. I've got national records. I had a world record. After the Olympics, I decided I wanted to really focus on road racing. It's a big deal over here in Europe. So made the decision to sort of move out here and try and make it as a professional over here. But it is so hard. It's a completely different ball game altogether.
And I've heard that. I remember speaking to Adam Van Couverden, and as you well know, his specialty was, paddling, of canoeing, and he talked about how big the sport is, and on a frame that you just can't understand in North America. Is it kind of like that for cycling as well, too, in Europe?
Yeah, so obviously nothing really trumps football over here, soccer. But you go to countries like, Belgium or Netherlands, Spain, France, the passion is just huge. Like, at the airport hotel at breakfast this morning, cycling was on TV. Like, that's just normal. It's like watching the replay of Sunday night hockey, and especially in places like Flanders where, everyone's heart beats cycling over there. It's just a religion. It's sort of like the equivalent of hockey in Canada to some of these people. It's really so special. It's a really incredible sport. But yeah, it's quite small and niche in Canada, and then you get over here and it's all of a sudden the level is just so much higher because everyone does it. Everyone wants to compete. So the body of competition is just so much bigger to try and cope with.
Carson, you brought this up. Just a second ago there. Here in Canada, we're very focused on, what we call the big 4 sports, and baseball, basketball, hockey, of course, and football, American football. I have to ask you, going back to your early days growing up in the Hamilton, Ancaster area, where did this love for cycling come from?
It's a good question because I actually don't know. I played, well, I do know, but it's sort of not the way you would think because I kind of played a lot of sports growing up, but none of them really stuck. I'm quite tall and I grew as a young kid, like in quite huge spurts. So I was really quite disproportionate for a long time. So anything that required any level of coordination just didn't quite work for me as a young man. But naturally just me and my family, we like being outside, always going on hikes and bike rides and this and that. And the bike was sort of the competitive equalizer because you can adjust a bike to account for, your arms being twice as long as they should be. And all of a sudden, whereas I just could not keep up playing soccer or basketball with some of my peers, you put me on a bike and I was faster than anyone I would race at that age. So that's sort of what got me started. And I think just having been on a bike since I was 2 years old, that transition felt pretty natural to go into competition at a young age.
What was that first bike? That was like a 10-speed?
No. So Ancaster Cycle in Ancaster, I'll shout out, it was Heritage Day Parade, and I was sat out front of it with my parents, and I sort of very discreetly made the case of, Mom and Dad, I'm 2 years old or I'm 3 years old. I think I should have a bike today. And that's where it started. So I still have it. It's still in my garage. It's an itty bitty little like BMX bike. But that's where it all started.
You're out there, again, on the other side of the world with that maple leaf on your chest, and you've been able to compete at the Olympics. You've won gold in a team pursuit with the Pan Am Games. Can you describe what it's like representing Canada?
Yeah, it's really special, like really, really special. It's one of the things that motivated me from a young age. The World Cup came to the Milton Velodrome in like 2016, 2017 for the first time. And I was there watching, and it was my first exposure to seeing the top level of cycling. And of course, the Olympics, it's a big deal in our household. So sort of representing Canada on whole was just something that I really dreamt of doing one day. And then I guess that night in Milton, watching the best in the world at the time go around, I was maybe 14, that sort of cemented in my head as, okay, this is something that I'm going to do one day. And, fulfilled it for the first time at Junior Worlds. And then I think really at the Olympics, or even here at the Pan Am Games at the senior level at a major games, you're wearing the skin suit you see us wearing on the track. And then we've got the nice Lululemon hoodies and everything. It's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously the clothing, it's what you wear, but I think just that feeling of taking in the atmosphere of, I'm in this stadium, I'm wearing my flag, everyone here is here to see us being the athletes, we're the center of the show. And I feel pretty connected to Canada as my homeland. It's a pretty great country, and I'm proud to wave the flag you're seeing on the screen anywhere I go.
When you see these pictures, does it bring it all back to you?
Yeah, I don't remember much of the racing, but pretty much everything before and after I can recall. I do remember my dad and one of the other riders' dads were probably two of the only guys in the audience that weren't locals there, so naturally they're wearing their Canadian attire. And anytime you'd look up on the big screen, and if they weren't showing the race, they were just showing our two dads in the stands losing their minds. It was pretty cool.
You talked about the Milton Velodrome, and I believe there's a newer one now in Edmonton. These facilities, we talk about all sports, especially the Olympic sports where we don't really cater. There's a million baseball fields and there's a billion hockey rinks. But when you get a facility like this, how much does it help the athletes in terms of Canadian athletes, preparing them for the world stage?
It's huge. So, I mean, the figures we can use looking backwards, Great Britain is a behemoth in track cycling. I mean, you can look up how many medals they've won in the last 2 decades. Basically, that all started in the 90s. They started to get velodrome facilities, kind of equivalent to what we have now in Milton and Alberta. They really started then. Now your program has a home base, a legit headquarters, and they built up from there. And within half a decade, they're the king of the sport, and they have been for the last how many Olympic Games. So now you flip that to Canada. We built the velodrome. There's that 1 or 2 year period where, okay, is this going to really improve? And then all of a sudden it just snowballs. We won 2 medals at the Tokyo Olympics. We've won senior world championships. We've won Pan Am medals. It just keeps going, and the amount of really talented professional riders that we're producing now on the road that got their start riding on the velodrome. Just that seems to be the pathway in Canada at the moment. I think it tells all these facilities, not just for cycling but for all sports, can absolutely change a nation's presence on the world stage in any discipline.
I don't know if this is the sort of path of every cyclist in this country, but in you in particular, you have had success in the velodrome on the track, but you've also had success on road racing as well too. Is there a favorite there, or is that just something that you choose to do?
I mean, they're so different. This is a discussion that comes up a lot. I mean, you kind of have to consider them as two different sports. The physical preparation, I mean, obviously there's overlap, right? You're both riding a bike, but the physical preparation is very different. The tactics, the nature of the racing is really different. They can complement each other. It takes a little bit of planning and coordination, but I love them both. I love that track cycling is very focused. It's always the same environment. It's always the same thing every time. So it's always just about, it becomes so Formula One-esque of trying to find like milliseconds every lap, versus road racing. Every day is a different day. You're contending with weather, you're contending with road conditions, you're contending with crashes and punctures and this and that, mechanical issues. It's just a different beast altogether. It's like, rally car versus F1 as a motorsport analogy. Sure. But they're both just so fascinating, and to master them is quite a challenge.
Your sport is based on speed and basically endurance. Obviously, all those kind of particulars come into form, but at the end of the day, whoever's quickest is going to win the races. With speed comes danger. I have seen some tremendous, and I'm sure you have experienced them. I think we can go back. I think it was at August in the summer last year where you had a little spill in France as well too. A little bit about the dangers of your sport. Yeah,
so I think road cycling especially, it's sort of a quietly dangerous sport. I mean, I think everyone can relate to falling off their bike and scraping their knee. But the speeds that we achieve now in modern road cycling is crazy. I mean, on descents, we descend these mountains and we'll achieve speeds of over 100 kilometers an hour in some cases. Just this last week, racing down a mountain, I was riding at about 96k an hour, like sustained for a couple minutes, which is nuts. And then, of course, you can see here, riding in the peloton is dangerous. You're literally centimeters away from each other. Sometimes you do bump and lean on each other. You'll go into a corner and everyone wants to be the first couple of wheels through the corner, and that can't happen. There's not enough room on the road. So you'll go into corners full gas, fully leaning on someone. Or when it's time to position for a sprint or a critical moment, you need to get to the front, and sometimes that means elbowing, shouldering, headbutting's frowned upon, but it happens. There's a lot of pushing and shoving, and if you come off it, you can get hurt. This August, as you mentioned, I had a crash racing the Tour de l'Avenir, which is the under-23 Tour de France, descending Mont Blanc. It was raining, going really fast, misjudged a corner, collided with the guardrail at about 70k an hour, and then I fell 20-ish feet down a mountain, broke my neck, broke my ankle, had a brain bleed, had a pretty gnarly concussion, messed up a lot of muscles and ligaments everywhere. So I was pretty laid up for a while. There was a big question, like, obviously with a neck injury in your C3, like, okay, is there going to be any neurological impact? Am I going to be able to walk again? And sort of step by step, we got through that. And then after about 6 weeks of wheelchair action, I was able to get back to riding, which was pretty spectacular, and rebuilt my fitness really quickly. I do owe that massively to my coach and my physios and my strength coach. We did a very aggressive rehab. It was difficult. There was a lot of hard moments, but was able to cement my return to racing with a national title in January, and it's been an uphill trajectory from there.
Unbelievable, Carson. That is unbelievable. What a great story. I knew that the crash was serious. I didn't know it was that serious. And the fact that you're with us here talking about it and competing right now is absolutely unbelievable. Like, congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It was a big challenge, but I sort of made the decision, like, there's no plan B here. I'm not willing to accept not being able to return to racing. So that was that.
Well, the best part about it is in a couple of weeks, we're going to get you see you back on home soil. This all came, our chat here, because of, and again, this is one of the wonders of social media. I saw you do sort of a stand-up advertisement for, for the Paris to Ancaster race, which is an annual race here, one of the toughest in the area, maybe toughest in the country. And you were just so, I thought, beaming about the event that I had to come and talk to you. A little bit about this challenge. I mean, this is not for the faint. Again, especially when we talk about the rain and the muck and the trails. Can you describe the Paris to Ancaster race to people out there that may have never done this?
Yeah, so Paris to Ancaster, or P to A, is sort of based on a very famous race in Europe called Paris to Roubaix, which just happened this Sunday. It's known in France as the Hell of the North because they ride over these really, really old, terrible cobblestone farm roads. And, back after the World War, they rode through obviously all the torn up terrain, hence the name Hell of the North. And so, we don't have these 100-year-old cobbled roads in Ontario, but we do have a lot of trails. So they built this race called Paris to Ancaster to sort of simulate that experience of racing on these uneven, rough, muddy roads. It's fantastic. I mean, it's a great spring race. There's a great mix of, rail trail, road racing, single track, the iconic mud chutes, and then the final climb up to the Morgan Firestone Arena and the Rotary Center. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a real bike race, and I think what's great about it is that it's so accessible. You don't have to be a regular every weekend, every day trained cyclist to come and compete and have a good time. There's lots of different distances. There's lots of different categories. You're not going to be getting yelled at, get out of the way, you're too slow. You're going to be racing with people who are of a similar caliber. And even if that means you're just out to finish the day and have a good time and, have a hot dog at the finish, that's fine too. That's kind of how it started for me. But no, it's brilliant, and it's a great way to sort of get out and experience what a bike race can be. And I mean, if you're a little bit nervous about crashing, we just talked about the danger. Mud's a pretty soft landing, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
For you, I mean, does there have to be a complete equipment change in terms of your equipment and not being your bike?
I mean, I wouldn't do it on my road bike, just by nature of what it's designed for. But no, I mean, I'd ride it on my mountain bike. I'd ride it on a special, a cyclocross bike or a gravel bike, as they're called. Mm-hmm. But the first time I did it, I was, 11, and I did it on my mom's old mountain bike from like the 90s. So, there's no expensive equipment required. It's great if you have it. Maybe that'll give you an advantage. But I mean, that's the beauty of having such mixed surfaces and different obstacles along the way. There's sort of no equipment that's 100% right. So you go in with the best bet of what you think is going to be kind of, good at everything, and then you see how you can finish.
What are the biggest challenges in a race like this?
I mean, the weather's a big one. I think they used to have it even earlier in the year, so the weather was even more unstable, but I think it's shaping up to be a decent weekend this month. But obviously, yeah, those trails are muddy no matter what this time of year. So, keeping your equipment from getting so clogged with mud. Like one year I did it just got so bogged with mud and leaves, I couldn't shift anymore. I couldn't keep my feet clipped in either. So just managing your tires is important. And then, yeah, you get to the mud chute. That's your final big obstacle. And then, yeah, I mean, the climb. Anyone who's done Martin Side Road knows how steep it is, and especially on the loose surface, it's hard to keep traction. But it's one of these races that I think you can take a risk and go all in, and just if you're willing to smash it for a few K, you can get a good cap and go for it. There's no reward if you don't take any risk.
Fair to say that one of the wonderful things about this event is that it attracts what I seen or what I looked at, I mean, ages from about 10 to 11 to 70 years old, and that there is races of different lengths to kind of suit everyone's sort of athletic ability.
Yeah, I mean, that's the glory of cycling, right? Is that you can really do it from 10 to 70 or younger and older. And other races around the world, they'll have one race and it's just meant for the elite men, or it's just meant for the junior women. P to A has all of their races on one weekend, so no matter what age category, what sort of skill level you're at, you can all be a part of the same event. You're not feeling like, oh, well, the big deal was, last week and now I'm kind of here for the kiddie version, or I'm here for the, the old farts version. No, you're all in the thick of it all together. And I think that spirit and that excitement, especially around the finish line as you're coming in, you really feel it. And, there's years when I've been at home for the P2A and I've not competed, but I just love going to hang out at the finish line and cheering people on. It's just such a great vibe.
And the best part about it all, for guys like myself, the beginning, there's like a social event, and at the end, I mean, talking about your experience at the end, it becomes just a big social for people with sort of the like-minding of being, athletic and being outside and cycling, and that's got to be one of the best parts of all.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you've just gone through this big thing all together, and you've just got a shared experience, so there's an instant connection with everyone there. I think that's the most special thing about the feeling after, is this feeling of accomplishment and, connection with all these people that you've just gone through it with.
Well, Carson, I'm telling you, we're looking forward to having you back home and, checking out the event. And I know you got to get back at home for at least your second home for your season as well, too. But really appreciate you helping us sort of talk about the Paris to Ancaster race. There we go. Sunday, April the 26th is the race. Everyone grabs their equipment and stuff like that on the 25th. We did talk about the different lengths and ages that can be attracted to. And as you see, folks, there, if you need any information, of course, they got an outstanding webpage. If you need any in terms of registration, or you just want some information and you want to be involved, or just check it out. It's going to be outstanding to see everyone participating. And of course, you get to see a guy like Carson Mattern, who just does so well on the world stage. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you again for having me. This has been so much fun. I look forward to meeting you in person sometime.
All right. Go get some sleep.
Will do.
All right. Thank you so much. Hey, that's your Sportsline podcast for the day. And if you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote the Sportsline podcast, you want to hear from you, please hit that thumbs up, like, and subscribe button. If you have something to say, we always want to hear from you. For the wonderful people that make the Sportsline podcast possible, thank you so very much. And we'll see you very soon.